Welcome back to the Marty and Jaden Show. I'm Marty and this is Jaden. We have big news to talk about today.
It's been an exciting time. We took a little bit of a break to cover things like Dune, and while we were out, announcements have been made in the Brandon Sanderson world that we obviously have to cover.
Brandon Sanderson not only kicked off his BackerKit today for the new Words of Radiance book, so book 2 of the Stormlight Archive, leatherbound, he announced yet again another secret novel.
A different secret project. In addition to the 4 that he wrote previously, he couldn't get away from the kick of writing a secret book. He's probably started it right after the other projects launched.
What did you think when you heard this part of the announcement?
When I heard this, so this is, I remember thinking back to the first announcement, but it's like he's had this on his mind. He's been talking about things. He had Dragonsteel last year. All this time, he's been writing this book. So he's had to keep it secret this whole time. That's like, it's got to be at least I guess I don't know how fast he writes, but 6 months, 9 months, a year, where he's just done all these other updates, all these side projects, all this BackerKit stuff, all the while writing this book in the background. I think that's crazy.
It is crazy. And it's funny because where in the world does he find the time for this?
I think this is all he does.
He loves it. It's just crazy.
He's got a whole team to manage all the little stuff, and he can just write as much as he wants to. Like, we were all waiting for Stormlight 5 updates. He's like, 91%, 94%, 97%. We're like, oh, it's so close. And he's like, he's dividing his time between other books as well. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And so he said it's going to include High Cosmere.
So tell me what that, I saw that too. What does that mean? What does high Cosmere mean?
Absolutely no idea. It kind of like resonates with me on like high fantasy. And on the way here, I was trying to think of like, what is the definition of high fantasy?
Should I look it up?
Yeah, you should look it up to like know specifically what that means. Because as of right now, I'm immediately thinking like high, like it's got to be like the wider Cosmere. And so maybe this gets into more information about the shards and everything. So
high fantasy is a subgenre of fantasy for epic, defined by the epic nature of its setting or by the epic stature of its characters, themes, or plot. It's an alternative world rather than the real world. So it's like basically the Cosmere makes it high fantasy. So high Cosmere, that's like tippy top stuff.
Okay, so this has got to be, in my mind, a story about the shards to finally get more than just like you kind of get to interact with Harmony here and a little bit of Odium here. Like, you're going to get a story that involves the shards, which would be crazy. I think that would be really cool. That's my theory.
Incredible, like Adonalsium stuff, or.
Well, man, if they do that, that would be even more insane. I kind of feel like he's waiting on that until the very end of all of this to kind of just wrap it up. But I would think it would be more like Harmony, Odium.
He has
another one that you haven't met that I almost said out loud.
He mentioned, and that's the thing. Now I'm gonna have to really catch up. He's announcing more about it later this month, March 21st. He's gonna read the first chapter or readings from the first chapter and the title, and that should maybe give us more clues. But when you say like. He mentioned there are significant Cosmere ties. That's one of the things he specifically mentioned.
Yep, which is really fun.
He didn't actually say anything.
The Sunlit Man had significant Cosmere ties.
Yeah.
If it's anything like that, it's going to be a ton of fun.
I think it has some solid Cosmere implications in general. So it'll be a fun read for sure. I wonder, what's your estimate of when this thing gets into our hands?
I would guess June of 2025.
2025?
He says that in the BackerKit that doesn't come out until next year.
Oh my goodness. Who does that?
But here's the good thing about all this.
Makes me so sad.
And we got to come back to like our theories on what this is going to be about. But the good thing about this is that we're going to have the Knights of Wind and Truth. Excuse me. Wind and Truth.
I can't believe you do that.
Excuse me. Ignore everything before that. In my heart, it will always be the Knights of Wind and Truth.
That's fair. As a true fan.
Yes, a true fan. I knew the title before the real title. But it will be a good way to get back to the Cosmere after having read that. Because what is going to go in between those books? There's like a 3-year span that like... Are we going to get any Cosmere between Wind and Truth and like Ghostbloods?
It feels like we aren't. And this was an interesting transition that we had, even just on the channel, between really diving deep into Way of Kings, you know, doing a bunch of content related to that, and then diving back into Mistborn. It was like, whoa, like, okay, it's all connected. It's all slightly different, but it's all connected, and it's fun to take that step back. I think that's a great way for him to make sure everyone's still like enjoying that environment and the world that's been built in the Cosmere without, because it's like there's so much Way of Kings. Let's do a little bit different. Maybe other stories coming out, because you get to a point where a lot of the fan base is they've read it all.
Yeah.
I mean, you're one of those examples, right?
Yep.
Haven't you read everything in the Cosmere?
Almost everything. I have not read You Mean the Nightmare Painter yet, and
Okay.
I'm very excited about that. That's
Okay.
I think that's the only one.
We've got that on the schedule, right, to read on the podcast?
Yeah, there might be one more that I haven't read, but I think that's one might be the only one. So
That's exciting. I mean, I have so much that I have to read this year. It's crazy, but I'm also trying to keep up with life on the side, you know?
yeah. Well, this brings it back to like where
Where you think it's going?
Where I think it's going. So we have a friend of ours who is much more knowledgeable on the Cosmere than
Yes.
we are.
The expert.
The expert. And this expert was at Dragonsteel.
You know who you are.
Yes, you know. He was at Dragonsteel 2023.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he said that Brandon Sanderson read a first chapter of a book that he was working on. And it sounded very similar to this Sixth of the Dusk book that Brandon Sanderson read.
Sixth of the Dusk.
Yep. And you have not read this. This is in Arcanum Unbounded. Let me double check.
Yet another thing that I have to read. My goodness.
Luckily, this story is only like 2 hours long in Arcanum Unbounded. So it'll be very easy to read. We'll have to definitely read it before that announcement and before reading that first chapter.
I noticed you're thumbing through Audible to find
Sixth of the Dusk.
Sixth of the Dusk.
Had to double check.
I have an interesting...
It is 2 hours exactly.
The whole story?
Yeah, whole story. It's very short. It's
I can read
also
that.
one of my favorite short stories.
Do I need context to read that?
No. This is in a
I can
world
just
that
read
you've
it?
never read about. It is really, really cool. Really, really fun.
Okay,
It's just
I'll
when
read
you
it.
read it, it's one of those Sanderson stories where you just really understand where like Sanderson's brilliance comes in. He is just
Wow, that's high praise.
It is, because he's just so creative with the worlds that he builds and the magic systems, and it's just so different than everything he's written. It's just so fun.
I'll read it.
love
Okay, in 2 hours, that's
Yeah.
not that much of a commitment.
Yes.
Okay.
But I want to hear your Audible thing.
So yeah, Brandon Sanderson posted an article today that I read about his take on Audible and some of the developments that have happened since he decided to take the secret projects out, or kind of around Audible, let's say.
And did you know about this previously to the article and why he
Yeah.
stayed away
Yep.
from Audible?
I
and
knew what
Spotify?
the kind of the, I don't know, it's not really drama, but his issue with Audible.
Yeah.
And it talks about that a lot in the article too.
Okay, tell me about it, because I did not read this article.
Okay, this is actually really cool, and I even mentioned it to my wife too. And I'm like, you gotta listen to this. Like, this is the type of business drama that I'm here for. Like, this is fantastic.
We are business geeks. We love
It's the
it.
best kind of reality TV ever.
Yeah.
So he talks originally about the context behind why he didn't put his books on Audible. So if you haven't been a part of that conversation so far, the basics is he took the secret projects and he said, I'm gonna both explore other opportunities that exist for authors to put their audiobooks on that aren't Audible, because they're kind of the
Right.
behemoth in the space.
In his case, he used Spotify.
In his case, he used Spotify, yep. And he mentioned in the article just other options. Like, what other options are there? And the other reason is because Audible just has such a low... the max right now for payouts for a specific author is 40%.
The max.
yeah.
They put a max on
And
it.
the reason... It's up to 40%. And the reason they have an up to is because in order to get that higher mark, you have to be an author that is exclusive to Audible. That's another thing that he has significant issue with.
Yeah.
An interesting nuance is that he mentions other genres like game developers and things like that, where on places like Steam, they can get like 80-something% of the revenue from a specific game. You think that makes sense. They generate all the content, all the creativity, all of the everything. And then what does Audible provide? A distribution channel, which is great and super helpful. You know, like the app, they support the app, they do all these things, which is awesome.
Right.
But that's like, you get the sense of that should be something off the top, you know, like not the lion's share of the revenue. Yeah. So Brandon Sanderson,
60%.
Brandon Sanderson, at least 60%, normally 75, 80%.
Oh my goodness.
So Brandon Sanderson goes in and says, this is not right.
Yeah.
You know, and he mentions in the article, he says, I could have taken a sweetheart deal and been like, look, I have so much business. Amazon could just kind of do whatever I want. But the reason he's like, I'm going to basically go to war for this is because other independent authors don't have this type of clout. They don't have the ability to sway a company like Amazon to do what they want. So he's like, I'm going to explore other options, find out what other options exist, because I want to fight for other authors that are trying to get their work out that have no other option. They are a slave to Audible. And they're only getting maybe a quarter of what they should be getting for their work, right? And there's no other way for them to get distribution. So a difficult position to be in. That's the context.
And you've heard my qualms about Amazon before, man. I'm not a fan of Amazon.
Amazon in general? I know we talked about this.
Amazon in general, man. I'm just not a fan. Like, their business practices, like, really bother me.
That's from your e-com experience, right?
The e-com experience, but also seeing how they handle even small businesses. Like, they'll go into a small business and they'll say, hey, we're looking at investing or buying you out. And then they'll go through all of this guy's
rip them
stuff.
off.
And then they go to Amazon and make an Amazon Basics product that completely rips them off, and they undersell them and then just throw them, like, get them out of business. Like,
that's because they undercut the quality too. It's a whole thing.
It's messed up, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that is really wrong to do stuff like that.
Business can be brutal out there.
It can be, but that kind of stuff is unethical.
It's shady. It's
like,
shady practices for sure. They skirt the line of, yes, it's legal, but it's terribly immoral. All those things.
Yeah, it's horrible, dude. But I mean, the worst part about it is because I still love Audible,
and we still use Audible and Amazon.
And Amazon. Those are both great products, but just don't be like crappy human beings.
Scummy about it.
Like, come on.
And luckily for us, you and me, and everyone listening to the podcast, we have a hero of this story, Brandon Sanderson, who's fighting the machine.
I know. It's great.
So in this article, he talks about the developments that have happened since he first started talking about Audible. And he said that 3 Amazon executives came to Dragonsteel to present to him, to meet with him, to present some options for him.
In 2023, Dragonsteel? No way.
No. Dragonsteel, his company.
Okay, I was like, oh my gosh, they went to the convention?
No. Maybe.
They got swag. They were cheering for the new books. And
they came in their hoodies and their hats, and they're like, okay.
Yeah, we have spikes in our eyes and like everything.
They did come to Dragonsteel headquarters, and they presented this alternative. And they said, okay, we know that you're not going to budge on bringing your stuff unless we present some better options. And so they said, this is our new compensation plan for Audible authors. And he's not allowed to release the plan yet, but he said he's going to be testing it in the next month. So they're going to put him on this plan first so he can test it out and see what he thinks. And then they're going to distribute that to all authors on Audible, so that they can get significantly more for their work. Wow. So you think about the fact that one guy, obviously a guy with a lot of sway in the booktube world, I guess, he has a lot of just weight. His books, his everything is incredibly popular. But he used that to bring up the just payouts for everyone. And one of the things that he did was he said it's not quite the 70% that he thinks is fair. He said it straight up in the article. He's like, I think 70% is where they should be at. And he said this plan does not get there, but it's a significant improvement it's much more than the 2% that I was fighting. He talks about a story he was fighting for 2% for some other arts or author deal back when he first started. So it's much more than the 2% bump that you might be thinking, but it's not quite the 70% that I think is fair. But he said he is very, very excited about the fact that they were willing to, one, come to his table, which is very interesting. They came to him and they said, hey, please. and they went forward with this new plan. Like, we've designed this whole new plan for payouts. They're going to be more transparent about where the revenue's coming from, about like what's coming from credits and what's coming from this. One of the specific nuances to that is an Amazon credit, an Audible credit. Hasn't gone up in price for, he said, 2 decades. I did not fact check that, but he said,
I didn't know they've been around
the
for 2 decades.
problem is the revenue share, that means also does not go up. So you can't really set the price of your book to be something, whether it's market value, because anyone can just buy it for an Audible credit, which is a set fixed dollar amount.
Yeah.
So it's a really tricky way to be like, technically Amazon sets the prices for your book. Even if you're selling it for $25, people can buy it for an $8 credit.
Yeah.
And so it's like, now you only get 20% of $8. Like,
right.
It makes a big difference. So all of those things, so they're going to be more transparent about that. They're also bumping the payout rates for everyone. And as a result of this conversation, he is bringing the secret projects to Audible.
Ooh, that is huge.
It is.
Wow.
He's bringing them back. Well, he's not back, but he's bringing them into Audible. Wow. He hasn't announced when, but he said he's going to do it.
Wow. And Amazon, like, you understand how much sway and influence that Sanderson has over the community because, listen, he just launched his Kickstarter. And it's already...
What is it at?
Yeah, it's already over 10 million.
Oh.
Already over 10 million.
Some of the stuff is completely sold out.
Yep. For a book that's already been released.
That is the craziest part.
Yeah.
The book already exists, and it's been out for, what, a decade?
Yeah. It wasn't like the book was already released like a week ago. It was like the book came out 10 years ago.
Here's a new version with leather, and it's raised $10 million.
Yes, seriously. It's great. It just shows how much he makes an impact in the book community.
Yeah.
And that's why Amazon hears.
He has some cool stuff on that BackerKit. Have you had a second to thumb through
I gotta
it?
check it out.
I was looking at it too. I was like, man, some of these plushies look pretty cool.
I know, dude, I was gonna say like Amazon like must have been really hurting like when they realized that they weren't gonna put any of the secret projects on there. A $42 million campaign.
With all of the news that brings with it and the notoriety and the publicity, it's everywhere. Everyone was talking about that in the book industry.
Yeah, it was number one trending on YouTube for a while too.
Yeah, for good reason.
Which was awesome. But and then to skip Audible, that's got to feel like a huge miss.
It's a slight.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's very much just a slap in the face of I can do whatever I want with my stuff. And he said that he lost a huge amount of revenue because of it.
Yeah.
He could have made a lot more money on Audible because, I mean, the Spotify is just, the interface is not as good.
It's terrible.
It's like they tried to turn an audiobook into a playlist
of songs.
And you think about the way a playlist works and the way an audiobook works is not the same.
Well, the worst part was that when you get to the next chapter and you had to like, oh, I got to skip back. You couldn't skip back to past the beginning of the chapter.
Yeah, like you can't skip back into a previous song, where in a book you can, because it's all technically one continuous line.
Yeah, exactly.
The songs are very much
It's
discrete.
hilarious. I didn't even know that Spotify was in the audiobook game, but like clearly,
I had no idea.
This is one of those things that I'm like, okay, the people who created this product do not use their own product because they would have known about this issue and fixed it.
It's a huge issue and it's an obvious issue.
Yeah, there are many things. I even think this about Apple all the time. Like sometimes I don't think Apple uses their own products because they have to know that the 20% battery left in your phone should not pause everything on your freaking phone and pause it in the middle. Why can't they do a little drop down from the top?
Like everything else.
Like everything else. Like
because the guys at Apple never let their phone get to 20%.
That's probably what happens.
That's your first mistake.
They've probably never had this problem.
They've never seen 20%.
Yeah, I know. So
also, when your AirPods completely die, it says they're at 100%.
No way.
Only when they're like literally right at zero, they'll connect to Bluetooth and it doesn't get a reading, so I think it assumes 100%. I've noticed that the last couple of times they've died.
Wow. See?
Yeah.
And they've probably never had that problem before. They do not use their own products.
I had that problem all the time.
I love it, dude.
But they do podcasts really well.
Oh yeah,
Spotify. I've started. So okay, this is interesting. We have a podcast. You're listening to it. Where do you listen to all of your podcasts, or at least most of?
Yeah. So I listen to all my podcasts on the app Overdrive.
Yes. Yeah. You shared that with me. I use that for some of my podcasts too.
Only some. Do you listen to the other ones on Spotify then?
I actually, oddly enough, I listen to some podcasts on Overdrive, some podcasts on Apple Podcasts, and some podcasts on Spotify.
What in the world? Why do you use 3 different ones?
It's something that's come about organically. You shared Overdrive with me, and I used that for like, you know what? Now that I think about it, they're all organized based on kind of genre. I listen to like newsy stuff on Overdrive.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I'll like play when I'm taking a short trip to like the store or something. I need something to listen to. And then I have Apple Podcasts, which is where I listen to just kind of my interests. You know, like I have a lot of like data science podcasts or just other kind of technical podcasts, engineering stuff. And then not like engineering, like real engineering, like software engineering. Sometimes people are like, just no way.
The fake engineering.
They call them computer scientists and software engineers. We are neither scientists nor engineers. We're programmers. And I think that's an interesting nuance for another day. But don't destroy me in the comments for that. I am the software engineer and I'll accept that. But and then on, what was the third one? Spotify. Yeah, on Spotify I listen to just like entertainment stuff. Like I have one like the Maddie and Pete show, Maddie Hapoya and Pete, what's his last name?
I don't know. I have no idea who you're
Well, it's their
about.
fault. He's a photographer. You introduced me to him. You totally introduced me to him way back in the day.
Peter McKinnon?
Yes.
That's not Maddie.
It's called the Maddie and Pete Show.
Oh, Peter. I gotcha.
Peter McKinnon. McKinnon. It's McKinnon. Okay. But yeah, so on Spotify, I listen to just like a random podcast that I'm interested in. Like I've even one that's like a business guy, but he just talks about interesting stuff.
Okay, so why? So is Spotify, are you listening to like subscription podcasts, or they're only on Spotify or something like that?
I think they're actually on all platforms.
Why would you do 3 different platforms?
Because, you know what? This is actually this is a pro tip that I will give to the people.
Okay.
It's because it's situational, where if I'm listening to Spotify, it's because I just want to be entertained. It's like I'm listening to music, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I could switch over to a podcast that's also entertaining. It's like background. Music is background stuff, right?
Yeah.
But when I'm listening to the news, it's like I intentionally want to say what's going on in the world today. So I go to the app and I click it, right? I'm not already in Overdrive. I'm not scrolling Overdrive to do anything. Like it's just specifically for one thing. And then Apple Podcasts is one where it's like either while I'm working or I need to learn something particular, or there's a specific episode that I want to save and refer to later. The fact that I have an iPhone means it's a lot easier to use podcasts and shortcuts and things like that to work with. So each app is its own situation that I find myself in, and I have to have podcasts designed for that situation.
That's hilarious, dude. That would drive me crazy.
My life is very organized.
That would drive me crazy because I love how Overdrive, whenever I find a new podcast, I just search it in there, and then you can just have your whole list of podcasts right in there. And what's cool about Overdrive is you can set all of your own speeds on them. It remembers the speed from podcast to podcast, because some people talk with a ridiculously fast
That's
cadence,
true.
which is crazy. And you can also do the smart skip stuff on there. I don't know. I'm just a huge fan.
I think their interface is fantastic. I do agree. I think I'm not using it quite perfectly, because sometimes there are things that confuse me. Like if I click on a podcast from the top section, it just starts playing it. Like I didn't want that. I want to go to the episodes. But if I want the episodes, I need to scroll all the way to the bottom, find it in my like subscribed ones, click on it there, then click on all, and then I can look at the like.
I never
way
click
too
on
many clicks.
I never click on the ones at the top. I always go down to the show I want to listen to, click on it, and then play or whatever.
It's a confusing interface. There's 2 different versions of the same show on your same page.
That is
UI
crazy.
is a difficult art.
Yeah, dude. I know that is crazy. Yeah, the only reason why I end up using Apple Podcasts sometimes is just when there's a podcast that I want to share with someone who most likely doesn't use Overdrive, because I don't know very many people who do use Overdrive. And so I'm like, okay, I want to share this podcast with someone. I'm going to Apple Podcasts to go send it to
It's
them,
on everyone's phone automatically.
Yeah, exactly. And then they can actually listen to it without having to like download Overdrive or something.
Something that's surprising about podcasts to me is how little analytics they have.
Oh yeah.
Just because there's like no statistics for that stuff. Like a YouTube video, when we post these podcast episodes on YouTube, we get to see like overall average watch time. We get to see like, who's clicking on it, who's watching it. Not who, but like in general audience. And then on podcasts, it's like this many downloads, and it may or may not be accurate.
They're like not sure.
Like we don't even know what a download means. A download could literally mean like it automatically downloaded to their phone, they never listened to it, or they like downloaded, listened to the whole thing. They track those exactly the same.
Hilarious, here.
It's a wild situation.
Yeah, it's wild. Sorry,
I don't know how they're gonna fix it, but they're gonna need to.
Yeah,
that's the thing. We record these podcasts late, so it's gonna
super
happen.
late.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I know. It's like
kids
10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, okay, so let's jump back to the Sanderson campaign, because I want to see
the BackerKit.
The BackerKit. See, so where are we at now? How many people have backed? Looks like they've 13.6 million. This is insane. So the previous record, so he broke the record for Kickstarter.
But now he's on BackerKit to break more records.
I know. He's like, let's go find another site.
It crashed this morning.
It did?
BackerKit, yeah. BackerKit crashed as soon as they announced it. He had to put out a secondary tweet to be like, they're working on fixing it.
Oh my goodness.
Like that's not good for your service. If you Google BackerKit, the first result is Words of Radiance. Like they know that they're like, our whole site rests on Brandon Sanderson's shoulders.
For real though. Well, so the first campaign that he broke records with, he raised 42 million, and the record was 21 million. This is at 13.6. He is going to pass 21 million pretty easily. Is my prediction here.
I'm buying one right now.
As we talk, are you really buying one right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, okay.
You were waiting for this conversation.
I knew I needed to buy one, and it's up on my computer as a tab, and I forgot because work was crazy busy today. But The new secret project box, I think, is the one I'm going to go with.
I know. I was looking at this. So, because the different options that they've got here. So, he's released a new secret project, as we talked about.
Yes.
It says
no title
shipping
yet.
in 2025.
I don't like that at all.
See, I told you about that.
I don't like it.
I know, dude. It's that. Okay, so I was telling my wife today, I'm like, so one of these, so you've got some Sanderson Curiosities, you've got some major tiers, like $650 for like a whole ton of stuff.
For the rich people out there.
Yeah, for the rich people out there.
I'm doing the $50 one.
Yeah. No judgment of the rich people. I just show me your stuff when you get it.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
That would be super cool. But at least the signed book for $250 would be super cool.
Did you see the one that sold out? Had 5,000 copies and sold out like in the first hour?
They were numbered copies.
That's cool. Is it literally just has a number on it?
I think it's like first printed, second, or something like that. Apparently, it's a big deal to have like a numbered copy.
Interesting.
It's a collector's thing.
Is it more of a collector's item then?
Yeah. So anyways,
because they're all signed.
I would love to get this $250 thing, but I was telling my wife today, I'm just like, listen, like
good luck with that.
I can't justify getting the $250 thing, but it's funny because it feels like that should be something more for like a birthday or Christmas or something like that. But for me, it is the worst to get like a birthday gift that like you can't
do anything with.
Yeah, I'm not getting this gift until next summer. Like I get it right now, and I'm impatient.
That's brutal.
When I get something I want right then, so I'm like, you know what? I'm just not gonna get it. I'm just not gonna get it. And
he needed to plan for that.
For $50.
He needed to plan for that in his.
Things would be much different if I could buy it on like right now, and that's why it's even hard for me to wait for the secret project because I'm impatient.
That's so hard to wait. That's like a zillion years from now.
You're telling me I'm paying $50 right now, and I have to wait until next year to get it.
But at least that will bridge the gap between this and Ghost Bloods.
I know.
It's like 4 years from now, 3 years from now. But did you see the plushies? So he kind of teased this a little bit in Dragonsteel. They're like these little. Here, I'll show you on mine. They're like these little stuffed animals, kind of, but they're not animals.
Do they turn inside out into a different thing?
Ooh, that would be cool. I don't think so.
Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like those like octopus like
they turn into like evil spread with.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering. Like,
I don't think so. I think they're very much one thing. But they also, I just noticed, you cannot see this on the phone at all. So it's like so sketchy. But it says designs not final right at the bottom.
Wow.
I'm like, what if they change it a lot?
I know. You're like, I like that one.
And it also doesn't say when these are going to be. It says shipping costs will be calculated, yada yada. But like, if the designs aren't completed, does that mean they're not shipping yet? Like, you've seen the Stormfather one? He's funny. That's like, that makes a lot of sense. It's like a grumpy grandpa.
Yeah. I know. I think we talked about this a little bit about the Stormfather and like how he's just always like upset and down.
He's always angry.
But it did make, I was thinking on that statement. I'm like, you know what? That actually makes sense. Storms should naturally be like they're growling and rumbling and
no, I think they did a fantastic job with this one.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect.
And Spren are supposed to represent the physical embodiment of like what people are like personify them as, right?
Yeah.
And that's how people personify storms, as dreary and dark and it was a sad day, or like, you know, and that's the Stormfather. He was personified that way. It's great.
That is pretty great. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Before you look at the plushies, which one do you think is purchased? Okay, exclude Syl. Obviously, Syl, the honor spread, was bought the most by like a huge margin. Yeah, I can see how many people purchased each one.
How cool.
So which one do you think is purchased second most?
Okay, give me options.
Stormfather, Cryptic, Reacher, High Spren, Cultivation Spren, Mist Spren, and Ink Spren.
Oh my gosh. Wait, read them one more time?
I mean, I just gave you a smattering of them. Ink Spren, Peak Spren, Mist Spren, Cultivation Spren, High Spren, Reacher Spren, Stormfather, and Cryptic.
Ooh, I would bet Cultivation.
Very close.
Ooh.
But it was the Cryptic Spren.
Ah, that was my second guess. I couldn't decide if it was too creepy for people to want a plushie for it, though.
It's not that creepy in the designs they made, which I think is well done.
All I can
in my mind is a lot creepier than that.
All I can think of is spoiler alert for the next 30 seconds for the last book. Actually, I'm not going to do that because there are some people who I do not want to see. But anyways, there's a very, very creepy
fair enough
Spren moment in the fourth book. That's all I'll say.
So read the book, find out.
You know what moment I'm talking about?
I think so.
Yeah, that's very creepy. Forever, from that moment on, cryptic Spren are even creepier.
But I do think that's cool. I think they're really branching out. And the fact that they're raising almost what is now $14 million is incredible. Like
On books.
On books.
It's amazing. I love it, dude. Books are coming back. And it's because of things like Audible. Like Audible is making things more successful. Making books more accessible to everyone. And I was just talking to...
they just need to up their game and be more fair.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And I was talking to like friends about this and my family, and it's very interesting to see that as people are getting more and more into podcasts, they're wanting stuff that is longer form content. Yeah. And it's naturally leading to audiobooks. People are like, I'm kind of tired of all the podcasts that I'm listening to. Then someone like, hey, you should check out this book. And people read it. And now they're all of a sudden into an audiobook kick, and they're starting to read more and more. And I think this is great. I think this is a good thing overall for society.
I think it's a good development to dive into more long form content, to more like longer attention span, like a story arc that lasts longer than 45 seconds or 15 seconds,
or even 45 minutes.
But it's like, I just feel like so much of that quick cut content, like the Mr. Beast style, I've talked about this before, but like the Mr. Beast style of like everything has to be fast and quick and in your face and punchy is like, I think that's excessive, and I think it's nice to see.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. It's nice to see that people are starting to trend more toward like content that you can relate a little bit more with, and you can like contemplate a little bit more. Like a lot of the people that comment on our channel and talk to us about the podcast are like, "Oh, that was an interesting thought that you had there. Like I have this additional thought that I want to add to it." Like that is the conversation that we're here for, and it's so much fun. But only because we have those moments that people can talk about.
Well, that's why I'm more of a Mark Rober fan than I am a Mr. Beast fan. Because I feel like I'm learning stuff in his podcast or his show, and they're interesting, they're fun. Mm-hmm. It's a story. Like, how did I get from point A to point B? Like, how does this stuff work? And I think they're the coolest. I get excited whenever one of those videos.
They're very well done. Yeah, for sure. I enjoy them.
Yeah, they're great. Well, okay, so I want to get into the last thing that he released. He released the a quiz
on the BackerKit. On his website. I know
on his website.
Yeah.
The official Knights Radiant order quiz. And today we are going to find out which order of the Knights Radiant Jaden is and I am.
Exclusive to the podcast. Yep. You heard it here first. Find out what Knight Radiant we are. So we're taking the quiz. We're taking the quiz right here, right now.
Taking the quiz right here, right now.
Okay. We'll talk through some of the interesting questions on there, so you guys can understand. If you haven't taken the quiz yet, or if you have, definitely let us know which order you related to, I guess, or you're a part of.
Yep.
Based on your quiz. Let's dive into it.
Okay. First question: are you a person that? So all these are a sliding scale. So. Okay. On one side is hard on your sleeve, and on the other side, poker face. What are you more?
That's an easy one.
Wow.
I don't think I'm not going to share my responses. It's going to be a secret.
Oh, no, I want to know your responses. You have to talk through these.
I have to?
You have to. It makes it more fun. There's a lot of them. So for me, holy cow. I am definitely more of a hard on your sleeve person. Like I like to show everyone that I'm happy and I know how things are going. I'm about 70% though towards hard on your sleeve. 30% poker face.
Interesting.
Actually, I'm going to bump this down to 65%.
I think this is basically a get to know you, Jaden and Marty episode.
Yeah, this is great. It's great.
I have 90% poker face.
90% poker face?
I'm
Wow. So only 10% of the time you're hard on your sleeve?
Yeah, I don't usually want people to know how I'm feeling on the inside. That stays inside. My heart is not on my sleeve, it's inside.
Yeah. I don't like people to know how I feel when like I'm upset about.
But you're a lot more empathetic than I am, for sure.
Yeah.
That's pretty obvious.
True. When I'm upset about something, I want people. I'm pretty blunt about things. I'm like, hey, like this needs to change.
Fair enough.
But when I'm like, I don't know. When I'm happy, I like to let people know. There are things though where like I'll be upset or frustrated, and I just like do not let people. I don't know.
That's good.
35% poker face, 65% hard on your sleeve. Next one.
I hope there's a decisiveness one because you've changed yours like 3 times now.
It's because we're doing this live on a camera. It's making me nervous.
Okay. Next one's confident and needs reassurance.
Okay.
I'm just going to go straight up 95.
Yeah. Wait, you should not have said that out loud. Now it's influencing me.
Why?
Wait. I'm like, well, maybe I should.
Maybe the next one's influencer.
No. No, for me, I am not confident about this.
Well, that tells you,
I just kidding.
tells you everything you need to know, Marty.
No, I'm probably 93% confident.
There you go. We're both confident. I like that.
Yeah, 93% confident. I love it. I feel like I can make a quick decision and understand, like, yes, this is the reason why I'm doing it and everything. I do like to have evidence and support. And that's why that's where my research
I think that's
from.
more related to the next one, though. Cautious and daring. That's like more risk. Like you said, support and research is a little bit more.
Make me more cautious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am definitely more of a cautious person. But
I almost want to leave this one 50-50 for me.
I'm 75% cautious, 25% daring. I will go to the edge of a cliff, but
Just
like 5 feet, but like 5 feet away. Like I will not get to the very edge of a cliff.
I'm with you there. That's a terrible decision. Who are these people that take these photos
like
on the edge of a cliff?
Well, we're not talking like hanging off the cliff. We're talking like
but
looking
people
over.
like go all the way up to the edge. You're like, that's an unnecessary risk. One gust of wind and you're out of here.
Oh man, it's nuts. So what are you with cautious?
Wait, what did you put? Because I don't want to put the same thing. I put 65-35.
You can put whatever you want. I can't tell you what I'm putting.
I put 65-35.
65-35.
What did you put?
75-25.
Okay, so we're different.
Yeah, I'm an accountant. I have to be cautious, like by trade.
An auditor, yeah.
Yeah.
Next one is
I'm actually not an auditor, but thank you very much.
You were, weren't you?
I was at one point, but now
so you
I am
have the skill set.
I do finance.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah.
Next one is library versus dojo. I was going to ask you, actually. I'm pretty sure that means, like, do you go study at a library or, like, study by learning and reading or study by practice in, like, a dojo? Like karate.
Man.
I'm probably going to be 75% library.
Sorry, I'm trying to look up the definition of dojo.
A dojo is where you learn karate. It's a martial arts
A room
study.
or a hall in which judo or other martial arts are practiced.
Thank you very much, Jaden, for your completely accurate definition.
I would probably say I am 70% dojo.
Really? I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Yeah. But I'm backing down. I'm 65% dojo and 35%
I'm
library.
really excited for the decisive one.
What did you... What are you on?
75-25. 75 library for sure.
Really?
Yep.
You don't like being active?
Okay. It's more learning style, I think.
You think this is a learning style question?
Yeah. I do. I think I'm more interested in. I like to learn about things intellectually before I.
Well, if this is a learning style question, then I'm definitely like the opposite.
I think you did well on that.
No, if this is like, do I prefer being in the library versus prefer being outdoors?
Okay. Does it say, honey, it moves toward the attribute you most identify with? Is what it says, right?
Yeah.
So library or dojo is an attribute, not like a place you want to be. It's tricky. You got to make a decision.
No, I'm probably going to say that I'm more 55 dojo than in 45 library.
That's fair.
Because I actually love reading and I love learning, and I will buy courses online to like learn about different topics, and read books and all these things. But I also like doing it in real life to practice it and see it in action.
I can see that.
How it works. So.
Maybe I'll lose some decisiveness points and make things a little different.
Where are you at?
I think I'm going to change it to 60 library, 40 dojo.
Wow. Well, I'm going to change mine to...
I want to avoid being too middle of the road, though. I want to be one or the other. Next one is wolf pack and lone wolf.
Ooh, I am probably 60% wolf pack, 40% lone wolf.
I have 65 lone wolf, 35 wolf pack.
Yep, I could totally see that for you. Yeah. You're very much...
I see the same thing.
Yeah. For me, it's like I love being with people. I get energy from being with people. But I love to work alone and then come back to other people. When I'm working on a group project with people in the same room, I have the worst time focusing.
Nobody likes group projects.
No, it's the worst, dude.
I think it's the same way. I don't get a lot of energy from being with people. I love being with people, but in like doses.
Yeah,
like there's a limit to how much I can be like in a big group for a long period of time.
For sure. Peacemaker and Firebrand. I am probably 80% Peacemaker, maybe 85% Peacemaker. I love getting along with people. I love like helping them. Like I feel like I can get along with most people that I'm with, and they will like me, and I'll like them genuinely. And I am genuinely interested in people, but I am not afraid to tell people when they're wrong. But I try to be nice about it. But I'm not afraid to step up. And
it's very situational.
Yeah.
Like as a middle child, I'm very leaning toward the peacemaker side of things. But it's also like I'm very much of like I don't have to voice my opinion if it's gonna make people angry. It's like it's just not worth it. It's not worth the frustration. But I do have enough of firebrand to be like, especially in like my companies, it's like when a decision has to be made, I am not shy to be like, this is how we're gonna do things.
For sure. So where'd you end up?
I have 80 Peacemaker, 20 Firebrand.
Okay, so I'm a little bit more similar. Peacemaker than you, huh?
That's true. Yeah.
Okay.
I just like to rile people up more than you.
Yeah. Basically a rioter at this point. Spiritual versus skeptical.
That's a difficult one.
Ooh.
I'm skeptical about a lot of things, but I'm also a spiritual person. Like it's...
Yeah.
How do you...
I consider this more of like or do you go by, like, this just feels right? Or do you go by... like, well, this is what the numbers say.
Okay.
And honestly, I am probably smack dab 50-50.
I might leave mine 50-50 too, because I'm the same way in that I try to have a healthy amount of belief, but I might need to say 55 skeptical. I know if I don't put something like 60% skeptical, my wife is going to probably comment on this video and say, every time she tells me something that like, did you know? I'm like, I don't believe it.
Dude, you're probably right. That happens to me all the time.
It's like, did you know this? I'm like, first of all, where'd you read that?
Holy crap.
Second of all,
you've bumped me up to like 65% skeptical because this happens to me all the time.
I'm up to 70
I'm like,
now.
that's you're up to 70.
I'm very much of like,
dude,
okay,
if you're right.
You can't just tell me something and expect me to believe it.
Maybe I am. I'm probably at 70 then too.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, dude. There's so many things. That sounds a little bit like a conspiracy theory to me.
Okay, let's keep going. Next one's leader and facilitator.
Oh, I am probably 90% leader.
I have the same. I have 96% leader.
96?
Yep.
Wow.
I'm using my thumb, so it's close enough to where I wanted to put it.
I have a hard time being a follower.
It's not follower.
I know.
It's facilitator.
Okay, what does that mean in your head?
So facilitator is like you think about it like an exercise where you're in a group of people and you're like, okay, I'm gonna set up this thing, like kindergarten teacher versus CEO.
Mm-hmm.
A kindergarten teacher is a facilitator. A CEO is a leader.
Okay.
I feel bad saying it that way because now you're like, oh, I want to be the CEO. But in the sense of like, do you enjoy like walking the whole group through something, or do you enjoy saying like, let's go this route?
Yep. What if you
if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that's what I read it as.
What if you like both a lot?
That is why you would pay 50-50.
I know, right? Dude, I love being a leader, but I love like teaching people how to do things really well. Like, it is
I'm not
so
very
fun.
good at teaching.
I love teaching.
You should probably put it closer to facilitator then.
But I also love leading. Like,
maybe 60-40.
Man, okay.
90 is a bit excessive if you feel like you want to
but
be
I
more
like
of a...
love leading. But anyways, like, yeah, I just got such a high from like helping my brother study for accounting the other day, and I'm like,
wow.
And he did well on his exam.
Nice.
And I'm like, freak yeah, man. Like I'm a great teacher. I'm a great teacher. But I also love like leading. I don't know, dude. That's a hard one.
Okay.
I should not have used those two. Guard dog versus alley cat. Okay,
I'm gonna do 100% guard dog.
We might have to go through these a little bit quicker. I realize that there's a lot of these.
We'll get through them.
Okay, guard dog versus alley cat. So what does this mean? Like free spirit versus
loyal.
I'm probably 70% guard dog.
Makes sense.
Maybe 75. What were you?
100% guard dog.
You're not a free spirit at all? You like to do things by the book all the time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, well, sounds good. I wasn't really sure on that one. I'll give it 75%. Compassionate versus dispassionate.
Dispassionate sounds bad, but that's what I'm leaning toward.
I am probably like 90% compassionate.
I'm going to say 65 dispassionate. And I know that sounds bad, but I think it's more along the lines of like natural empathy, and that's difficult for me. I'll be completely honest. So
That's okay. I think you would relate with Brandon Sanderson some. Did you? He has this whole article about how he writes books a lot of times, so feel more empathy with characters.
wow,
Yeah, which is very interesting.
What a good guy.
I know. He loves that.
Okay, heart and head.
I am
80% head.
Yeah, you should not have said that out loud quite yet before I picked.
I'll let you pick next.
I know. I'm probably
You're right. There are a ton of these. We're gonna have to fly through them.
85% head. Flamboyant versus reserved.
You choose first.
Okay, let me know when you picked yours.
I mean, you could probably pick mine for me on this one.
100% flamboyant.
Yes.
You're the most flamboyant guy I know. I will say that reserved. Man, this is like, okay, I'll probably go 75%. Nope. I will go 65% reserved.
Interesting.
I'm not like a reserved, quiet guy.
You're not
No.
a quiet person.
But I'm not flamboyant either.
No, but you can probably be more on the flamboyant side than the reserved side.
I'm definitely not a more like crazy.
Yeah, it's a tough word. They shouldn't have said flamboyant there. It does have a hard connotation.
Letter of the law versus spirit of the law.
What do you think?
I am probably... I am probably 60% spirit of the law.
I left this one dead in the middle.
Really?
This is something that I have struggled with a lot.
Really?
Where I'm like flip-flopping. I'm like, but that's the rule, but like all this stuff. So I'm going to leave that one right in the middle.
Okay. Free-spirited versus disciplined. Okay, just a second. I am probably... I gotta be honest with myself. Okay, cool.
I put 80% disciplined.
I put 60% disciplined.
There you go.
Yeah.
Obedient, rebellious.
Honestly, I'm probably like 90% obedient.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually listen to people that are like listen to the rules. And my parents and my
yeah, like it's just easier.
Yeah, it's easier. It's just nicer.
Creative and conventional.
Rebellious when I need to be.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the 10%.
That's right.
Creative and conventional. Which one would you say? This is another one I might leave dead in the middle.
Yeah, it's super hard, dude. Conventional just means like efficient, right? Like it's just like in the normal way. Like, but I like associate that with efficiency. But creative is like, that's...
if you put it that way and say conventional is like, just do it the way everyone always does it, I'm never doing that. Like, that
I know,
sounds like
dude.
the worst. I'm going to put 65% creative then. Now that you've defined it that way, it makes more sense to me.
I know, dude. I'll probably put 70%. No, I'm probably with you at 65. Because I love finding new ways of doing things and better ways of doing things.
65.
But if the conventional way is the best way to do it, then that's
You're open
the way
to that,
do it, man.
Next is dependable and flexible.
I will probably say I am 70% dependable and 30% flexible.
I did 97% dependable.
Wow.
I feel like if I say I'm going to be there at a time, I'll do everything I can to be there on time.
So I am 100% with you. I am going to be there 100% of the time. But the flexible is different for me. It's more just like but like is it going to ruin my day if like we're 5 minutes late to something or not 5 minutes early to something? Like I'm flexible with those kind of things.
That makes sense.
I don't know. Okay, we skipped ahead. There was a lot of questions. But there was a couple that were interesting. The ends justify the means versus honorable actions did remind me of this short that I saw from Brandon Sanderson recently.
Okay.
Yeah, it made me laugh out loud when I read
Did I
this.
do that one wrong then?
No.
Well, we'll see. What did you put?
I just think about like Teravangian with the ends justify the means.
Yeah, he's the worst.
Hilarious. But in this short, Sanderson was asked, he's like, if you had to pick a villain from one of your books to be the president of the United States, who would you pick? And he's like going through, let's see, like Teravangian, Definitely not Teravanger. Nobody let that man near the office. I'm so hard. Dude, he picked the guy from Elantris, so you need to read that book.
Oh, I do need to read that.
Yeah, he's like, you'd probably not do too bad of a job, even though he's evil, which he's right. But it is the Teravanger comment is hilarious. Like, do not let that man have hold of the power.
He's the worst.
Dude, he's a crazy guy. Dude.
So have you finished all the questions then?
Yeah, so that's all the questions.
So now we just hit say the words.
Okay, here we go.
Ready, set, go.
Yay!
What'd you get?
I got Windrunner.
Nice. Skybreaker.
Oh! Aren't we like Nemesis?
Okay, read the description though for yours.
Wow,
it's
dude.
actually kind of long.
Wow. Okay, look at this.
It has a percentage at the bottom. Go ahead.
Dude. That's what I was
What
just
was
looking
yours?
at. Okay, I was number 1 Windrunner at 77.
Okay.
So I get to fly around with Kaladin.
That's true.
I'm freaking awesome.
True.
Then I am a 65 Edge Dancer.
Edge Dancer.
I'm surprised.
That's pretty
It's because
interesting.
I like to shoot people with my awesomeness. Just kidding. Stoneward, 64. Skybreaker, 62. Elsecaller, 61. Bondsmith, 58.
That's so interesting.
Truth
Okay.
Watcher, 53.
I got-
Shaper,
I got
Dustbringer,
Skybreaker,
Lightweaver
73.
last.
Lightweaver last.
What
I
were you
got Lightweaver last too. Skybreaker 73. Windrunner 69. So very close.
Wow.
Then Elsecaller 67. What is an Elsecaller?
That is what Yasna is.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then Bondsmith 64.
A Bondsmith, dude.
And Stoneward 59.
Okay, well that is super cool, dude.
That's way fun. Everyone has to do that.
Well, we both get to fly because you're a Skybreaker, I'm a Windbreaker.
You're a windbreaker. You're a jacket.
Dang it, Dayton!
It is late. I'll give you that. Maybe combined we're a jacket.
Oh, dude, that's so
Skybreaker.
cool, dude.
What is the
I should have asked you this before the quiz. Did you think about what you might get before the quiz like told you what you are?
I'll be completely honest with you. I really only know one or two of these. So I had no idea.
Well, it's a classic Sanderson thing. He's holding back a lot of information on what these things are.
Yeah.
And he does that. Like, he mentions some of these orders from the very first of his books, and then we probably won't get an explanation on every single order until book 10.
Which is going to be awesome.
Which will be crazy. I love how he slowly unveils this. One of the videos, he was talking about it and saying that he won't have... we won't hear a lot more information on...
Oh, which one was it? No, I know which.
Was it the Stone Ward?
I think it was the Stone Wards.
Or no, it was the Dustbringer.
Because he was talking about
how they
their
can
power,
destroy things.
and he's like, you wouldn't think that that's very useful, but there's
Yeah.
a lot of things that I've been thinking about.
Oh, dude, it was totally the Dustbringers.
What's the subtext of your Windrunner one?
Mine is, I will protect.
Oh, nice.
Wait, is that what you're looking
Mine
for?
says, I will seek justice.
Yeah, you're the one who follows the law no matter what, even if it's not ethical. You're Amazon.
That's not the same thing.
I'm just kidding.
Actually, I do want to read this. I found it. The surge of gravitation and division.
Yeah, what does the surge of division do? Does it mention
Division allows you to manipulate the rate an object decays. Wow. That's
What does that
intense.
mean?
I don't know. I have no idea what that means.
So does that mean you can make something just turn old? Really fast? So
Or
maybe...
I can make something last forever,
Whoa.
which is pretty cool.
Wow. So I'm just trying to think of examples. So you could like probably decay a bridge in an instant and make it just like fall apart.
Yeah.
Or you could make it withstand any storm.
No, because that wouldn't be decay. It says
From
the
getting
rate
mold
an
on it
object
with the
decays.
rain.
But like you could make something that needs to last and not weather over time. Yeah. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty
It
cool.
says gravitation allows you to change the direction and strength of an object's gravitational attraction, including that of yourself, which essentially gives you the power of flight, which I appreciate. That sounds fun. We can fly around. Yeah.
Yeah, well, mine lets you make Horn-Eater soup, and I'm just kidding. It's gravitation and adhesion. So
I think these are all really interesting. We're going to have to read more about these. Like, This sometimes gave the Skybreakers a bad reputation among the more free-thinking orders, but the Skybreakers were never merciless. There you go.
Wow.
It says at their best, they were never merciless. I'm sure at their worst, they had some issues. Very, very... I'm going to read this whole thing, but probably off the podcast.
The order, Windrunner's order tends to attract big sibling types who want to look out for the defenseless.
That's you!
It's me. I love helping people.
You do love helping, and you're an oldest sibling.
I am. That's me. That's what you were saying.
That's exactly what I was a middle child, so it's more about the rules and like older and younger siblings, everyone still has to follow the rules.
Yep. That's the best.
That is very
But
interesting.
also those who enjoy action and want to fight for what they believe in.
Which,
dude, I am
absolutely. That's you.
pretty strong in anything that I believe in, dude. Love it. Love it, dude. Anyways, this is a lot of fun. I'm excited to read more and more about this stuff. Well, anything else, Jaden? Anything else we're missing from our podcast?
Is cool. We definitely need to make sure everyone who's listening to this takes the survey because we're very curious what everyone else ends up getting.
Yeah.
I think that'd be so cool to see. This is kind of a long one, so we should probably wrap it up. But this has been fun. Let us know if you think this is the type of podcast you'd be interested in listening to more of, like a little bit more off the cuff, interesting things that we've seen happen, but also very focused on bringing back the world of Brandon Sanderson into the podcast. It's exciting.
Yeah, we're excited. We'd love to bring back the Sanderson. Love to have the chill conversations, so let us know.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.